Recording is on.
Welcome to the December 16th, 2020 DXgov governance discussion, and happy 20K Bitcoin Day. To start with, just going over what kind of the agenda for today that's posted in the HackMD governance 1.0 stuff, going over the rep boost, and then there's a bunch of proposals, a lot of worker proposals, and also some ENS updates, and then wanted to talk a little bit about the bonding curve proposal that is now boosted and can be voted on. And then on the governance 1.x front, XDAI, DXDAO, there is currently a community competition for Roman markets now. I think there's 14 submissions, so it'd be good to get an update on that. And then lastly, in the governance 2.0 front, we had a pretty good long call yesterday, but it was kind of exciting to go through a couple different options for kind of the solutions that may emerge. And so it'd be good to get a little bit of a recap on that there. Starting first the community rep boost, I posted a forum post this morning. As a reminder, this is something, I think this is the third month we've been doing it. I think September, the third month we've been doing it, just as a way to kind of engage different community members. I nominated two people, or I could think of Christopher, who's been a tireless worker, I really think, over the last month, kind of contributing a whole bunch of different areas, and Lorray, who had done some kind of partnership work with Status, Prime DAO, and Deep DAO. And so I think those are people that have been engaged in the community, and maybe some rep. And I saw Corcus and Zet also had some of those too. So as a reminder, we're trying to get people to submit the proposal themselves so that it is a way to actually get familiar with the proposal and also earn a little bit of rep, because you get a small rep reward for a past proposal. So we'll try to do submissions on that forum and then make sure that we get those people that are there. We don't have, that's about the formality of the process now, but other ideas for nominations or comments on how we should be doing this?
I think part of the reason for people making their own proposals is just to make sure that we have formally have their consent and willingness to actually take that rep and that governance power. Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm not sure the last round has been completed because only one or two people have done it themselves. The first round, or first two rounds that we did, we get in contact with the person. We ask them for their consent, but not formally, like you're saying. We say, you have a wallet address that you want to use for your rep, and then we gave them the rep. The DAO gave them the rep and put it into their wallet, and that was more successful because everyone got their rep. Whether they're using it is another, I don't know. I guess that'd be interesting to look at, is how many people use rep that they get in rep boost, right? But I see what you're saying about making people do it themselves. However, that doesn't have a high percentage of distribution at this point. So yeah,
not to say that we want to make it difficult. I just think there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement or receipt of it. Yeah. I mean, maybe we could even think about having links to the Alchemy proposal itself within DAO Talk, because I know you can create links to at least the new proposal page, and maybe we could even get a little fancier and pre-populate some of the text fields there.
Well, yeah, we actually go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, do you think we should reach out to the people who haven't posted their Alchemy proposal yet, just to see what the issue is, if it's tech or if it's just time?
Yeah, I think
that could be a good idea. Just say just a follow up to get some sort of back.
Yeah, and I think we should be very okay with hand-holding here. I like kind of submitting them submitting the proposal, but then doing as much hand-holding and encouraging as we can. For the last month's recipients, I think we should just re-engage them again under the same kind of pretenses that we're doing here. And I would imagine that we could hopefully get some of them to try to come along. I know there's 2 people or one person I had in mind that I had contacted that indicated, but just didn't follow up, and I'll follow up with him. It was the Russian YouTuber.
Yeah, it part of it comes down to, and I've been in touch with some people that like they are due rep from some action in the past, whether it's a rep boost or whether or not they did the Gitcoin grant a long time ago or whatever, and they just didn't claim the rep. And at this point, they clearly don't value having the rep. Like, it's not worth their time. It's not worth the 5 minutes it takes. So
it's also like $20 in gas at this point, just
exactly.
to make the proposals. So
yeah,
it's not worth anything to you.
Well, they get refunded most of it. But that's why some like interesting thing, like if you have rep and if you govern well with your rep, you can earn some incentive. I feel like if that was in place, and that could spur people to then actually care about getting their reps and then governing with it.
I think
maybe that's profit sharing. If we will get into that later with the Gov 2.0 thing, but that could be a solution, something like that.
And something else I've heard as feedback too is just like if it's people feeling like they don't have any influence over the votes, right? If they have a small percentage of rep, then I mean, I've heard that feedback from people who have like small amounts of rep, like under 1%, being like, well, should I bother voting on these things, or like what, doesn't really feel like it's worth it, especially with the gas costs and stuff. So
yeah, I think these are all good points and kind of part of the broader discussion on participation and engagement and rep distribution. And I think that we have a lot to work on in that, but I do think the community rep boost are like one of the things that's in this step in that direction. So we should, I think, try to build off of that with all of these other things. But there's a lot of work to do, I think, on really rep distribution.
Yeah, like another interesting aspect is the XDAI base. Like, if those people actually really are just like worried about the $20, which it still indeed is like crazy, $20 for like getting 0.1 rep. Like, we have an alternative. The base is like being built right now, and they can also be part of like the XDAI world if they want. So like, if the transaction costs are the issue, the XDAI base is something like, at the end of the day, they can request both worlds, right? But if the transaction costs are the issue, they could start on XDAI. And like in general, in someone who cares about like as less barriers as possible, at some point we should think about like a link where people just go and press a button, right, and just request that shit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the forum. I mean, the proposal roundup and different proposals. There are a couple different worker proposals in the queue. Nothing too exciting on those. There is a new worker proposal from Pulp there that I think has appeared there after initial maybe not appearing. But I think that was just a subgraph issue, if that's correct. I don't know. But yeah, and then, so I don't know if there's any discussion on those. And then there's a couple different, the ENS ones. So yeah, I think the swapper one is probably the most relevant one, and that is now boosted. So that means that it is set, that's the 3-day clock starts on that. So that will be, I think Saturday early morning, New York time, maybe like 3 or 4 a.m. That time will presumably be ready will pass, and then it will need to, I think, execute before it's actually that's launched on swapper.eth. So any kind of thoughts or questions on that proposal? I actually don't know if anyone has voted on it yet. I didn't check.
Can you send a link to the proposal?
Yeah.
Or at least to the forum post?
Yeah, that should be it there. Yeah, I guess no one has voted on it yet.
Yeah, it's only been boosted. It's only been boosted for a few hours now, I think. So I intend to vote on it, hoping the gas prices will come down from 100.
Yeah, that's
before the evening. But yeah,
and gas prices have changed, because I used to find like I could do it in the morning, it'd be low enough, but like the last couple of days, this has also happened on like another swapper thing in terms of liquidity. Gas prices just skyrocketed. But anyway, I think this is obviously like a pretty exciting moment for DXgov, for swapper. There's already been some semi-significant trading volume on swapper. There's about $160,000 worth of DXD and ETH in the DXD ETH pool, and there's been, I think yesterday there was about $65,000 of trade volume on that, which is interesting, of course, because there's no, like, the front end isn't up, so presumably this is just bots combing the blockchain for ARB opportunities, and the big movements of DXD and ETH definitely kind of contributed to some of that volume. But then now with the proposal passing, we'll kind of be able to enter the next stage on that. So I think it's a exciting development.
yeah, it's definitely ARB. I've seen or bought it because I've seen even just like depositing liquidity on it. You get front run and stuff if it's slightly off on the price. But that's good. I mean, there's fees generated from that when things move on other markets, and so I mean, I think that's overall a good thing. It keeps the prices in line so that things are correct in terms of being close to market price. Something else to note is we are pretty close now to making. I think the smart contracts are ready for the Gnosis protocol relayer. That's relevant to Swapper because that'll allow us to make trades from the treasury for something like stablecoins or TBTC or whatever is decided, and that would be necessary before adding any liquidity from the treasury, right? And that relayer is also ready to go. So those relayers are ready. We just need to make proposals to add the plugins. I don't know if Nico has anything to say to that, but when we get to that point, the plugin proposals take like 3 weeks if they're only boosted. So this is something we should, I think, try to push on, is to try to get greater than 50% and try to pass those proposals by absolute majority so we can shorten that timeline.
So there are two different plugin proposals, or is just one plugin proposal, like new one? Because that's the one that takes, you said, 3 weeks.
I'm a little not completely sure if we're going to go with the multi-call or with two separate generic plugins for each one, but it's either going to be one or for both of them at once, or two individually. But either way, that would, it would take at least three weeks, I think, to do the boosted version of those.
Yeah, I think that's an opportunity to try to get to with the votes. I think I'd like to, I don't know, Nico, we can kind of maybe work on that proposal to see if we can position that to try to get above 50%. Probably, and so just to kind of the timeline on this, so this is Swapper Beta. Swapper Alpha will be the next release, which will be DXgov liquidity with some farming, and that will be sometime in mid-January. So right now we'll we'll be discussing these items. You can discuss more on the Friday product strategy meeting, and then presumably have some type of proposal on the liquidity and farming things that will come back to governance over the next couple of weeks. Cool. And there was also a proposal just submitted, I think, yesterday to update the DXgov landing page. I know Violet's done a lot of work on this, and there's kind of some updates to a lot of different things that we added to the site, and also a lot of the text. And so that will time well with the Swapper release, because it will include Swapper as a product there. I do not think that proposal is boosted yet, but I didn't know if anyone had any other comments or thoughts on that, the homepage or the proposal.
Yeah, like I think in terms of thinking about the product, DXstats needs to be going online as quickly as possible. Does someone know the state of DXstats?
Yep, I can share a short update on that. So there has been some known issues with incorrect price information about some of the pairs and liquidity. And we pushed an update to IPFS yesterday, which is ready for review. So anyone who could take the time to review it, highly appreciate it. I will share it in the public Swapper channel as well. And as soon as we get the go, we can prepare the proposal there.
And DXgov already has I assume DXstats ETH, and I guess it's the same they're doing with Swapper. It'll be the first time using like the ENS, this ENS name from DXgov, but that'll just go under the same scheme or plugin that already exists. Yeah. Cool. And then there were two other market curation batch proposals, and just kind of wanting to flag these because I think this is, kind of the consistent governance that we need to be doing. Like there is some curation going on to Omen and providing valid markets, and kind of curating that as an important component. And so there are, I think, batch number 8 and 9 on that's going on now, voting on those proposals. Cool. And then there's
I guess with that, with the new format on Alchemy that Ezra had presented to the group, where like you see all the new homepage where you see all the proposals kind of all in one easy view. I think that will probably help with more active voting participation on like the other types of proposals that are not like the funding and voting proposals or whatever. So these curation ones, and then plugins and stuff will get brought, because right now you have to like dig down deep into Alchemy to find those, to then even decide whether to vote on them. And if they're presented to you on your front page, you will be more likely to vote on them. So I think that is an important step to like bring the other random types of proposals to the forefront for like the average voter. So that, I don't know how long when that's gonna be live, but that'll be cool.
Yeah, and even I've been trying to just look at proposals and read up and engage, and so those a lot of times I'm like not aware that they like pop up, or I'm not really sure. Or at first glance, I'm not really sure what they're doing, and then there's a spreadsheet and everything. I do think we need to like figure out some additional communication channel for proposals. I don't know if this is like a Keybase channel that is just kind of like, if we could have a proposal submitted bot or something. I've been trying to do that a little bit more on this call, but just there are a lot of like proposals, and I know that there are comments on the bottom of it, but like, how do we have some type of communication that we're following more closely with the proposals?
Just one addition, like there are no comments there anymore below the proposals. I noticed that like you can't add comments anymore. There is not that section. I don't know why is that.
I believe that should have been replaced with 3-box comments, like removing discuss and using 3-box.
Nice.
Might be an issue with 3-box.
Related to the proposal, I guess, funnel, one example we have right now, because it's a lot of times people make a forum post about their proposal before they make the proposal. And with API 3, we have an example where there was a forum post. So this is governance related, but it's biz dev too. We have a process now, but basically there was a forum post that's like a draft proposal, right? Which typically means that pretty soon after that, after feedback and discussion, there's going to be a proposal on Alchemy. But as we've seen in the past, whether it's personal proposals or ideas or money, asking for money for a certain cause or whatever it is, usually discussion on a topic does not start until there's an Alchemy proposal. A lot of times things sit on the forum and people are hoping for or want feedback and discussion, and it's not a high priority because it's just a draft on the forum, and it takes a lot of effort to like turn that into an active discussion. And once there's a proposal on Alchemy and there's like a 7 days time limit, it actually ignites conversation, right? And then maybe you have to go back and change the proposal. But I'm wondering if we have a better way to really force discussion, like you just said, Chris, like there's about to be a live proposal, rather than wait till there's a proposal to start discussing. How do we have the discussion before the Alchemy proposal is made? Because we've encountered this many times over the last 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue that the boost period is supposed to fill that role, right? That you submit a proposal and it just sits there, and then you go to the forum and you say, I just submitted this proposal, it's there, vote on it if you feel strongly, it's not boosted yet. And then like when you get to the boosted, when someone feels confident enough to boost it, that means they think that like it'll get a up or down vote in a certain direction.
Yeah.
And that, you know, and then that's when you maybe does enter that next level. But yeah, I mean, I think thinking about the way that, again, it's like differentiating between proposals. I also think signaling, like it's just signaling broad, and it's like kind of, it's connected to reputation. But for instance, like in the Omen, like market curation batches, like if someone, I look at who submits those, and then if like someone tells me, like if Geronimo or you tells me like you should vote on this, then I'm going to vote on this because like I trust you guys, and that's fine, right? If I know that you're submitting that proposal or you're telling me that, and I think those type of like signals, right, on different proposals from, you know, members that have given it a closer thought, and yes, we're relying on, there's a little bit of trust there, but I think that that's all part of the process.
Yeah, that's a really,
yeah, exactly. Like,
yeah, go ahead.
That's like a very important point. Like we have those squads, and like I think in general, the Omen squad needs to make sure that the Omen proposals are like checked, verified, and like if someone has a question, the Omen squad should be able to be available and to answer any question, right? And we need to make sure that those proposals, like the market curation proposal, I mean, they are so cryptic, like just market addresses are shit. Like we need to make sure that we do like they're like as easy as possible verifiable, which means we need to provide like those links to those markets so people can just click on those links and check the markets themselves. So I think like each spots need to make sure that governance is as easy as possible.
Yeah, there's like bill sponsors too in other, in other words, it's people that sponsor them.
And like I see that with Swapper, like I do some verification. I'm not like deep into Solidity and deployment verification, so I'm like kind of waiting for the Swapper team to like give me some signal that it is legit. And until now, there's no signal, and I'm just waiting.
What do you mean? There's no signal? I boosted the proposal, and I've also added
like,
liquidity.
That's definitely a signal. That's true. That's true.
But we should think about how to remove trust, like in the bigger picture here, right? Like, I mean, there's the operational reality of today, but we got to remember that the goal is to like make this decentralized and autonomous. And we don't really want to be in situations where we're relying on individuals to like signal something, right? Like that's too much.
It'll be like brands of something, right?
Yeah.
Like people will look at something as signal and indicators, right? And that may not be like individuals. It'll be like, but there will be ways to evaluate these things, and just thinking about like, what are those signals, or just encouraging more signals.
One thing that I've been wondering about is, especially with the worker proposals, is, and maybe this isn't going to solve it or not, but obviously like kind of signaling someone from your squad, boosting your worker proposal, once things are going is a very nice way to do it. But if we also do budgets eventually, for quarters, and that would include, budgets for workers, and you reference, I'm posting my worker proposal in reference to this budget. So there's some sort of contact there of like, yeah, we've already amongst the squad communicated amongst one another that we want you to work for us, and your work's good and you're a part of the budget. Things like that could kind of help out a little bit, just the more organized it is.
Definitely. Cool. And there is another exciting proposal, or I don't know if exciting is the right word, but there is another proposal that has been boosted, just started, and that is to immediately halt the bonding curve. I think it was immediately. So this is, I believe, posted by Chris P, who's been active in the Telegram. And so, I mean, the bonding curve has been extremely hot topic of debate for a long time. We had a pretty long debate in August and early September on this, as it was being, as a lot of the fundraising was happening as they were going in there. We ended up not deciding. There was a signal proposal that failed to halt the bonding curve in early September. And so this would be another signal proposal that would, I think, kind of prioritize where we should be focusing and developing our time on. And it doesn't necessarily come with any specifics or code to execute. It doesn't actually halt the bonding curve itself. It would more be like a signal that the collective should act in this way. I think as of the latest, it is 0.39% against and 0% for. And so I don't know if anyone had any thoughts, comments to kick off the discussion.
I have some thoughts. I don't. Yeah, so this had been a hot topic in the fall, or the beginning of the fall, and as part of that, there was a proposal to halt it that actually didn't get boosted. Actually, if I remember correctly, I think Chris, who made this proposal, actually ended up down boosting that one. I think, after having some discussions, I think maybe it was with Augusto, he thought it was better to wait. And I think my thinking at that time was, the bonding curve plays a pretty serious role. It is literally the token contract. It's got 2,500 ETH in the buyback reserve. It serves as the distribution of revenue to DXD holders, as well as the mechanism for fundraising. And so I felt like it deserved some discussion. And I think one of the things that held me back from supporting it early in the fall was like skepticism that the motivation wasn't simply like speculative, you know, that like there weren't just people creating a stir about it so that they could pump the price. And I was, you know, I sort of felt like that would be an unhealthy dynamic to kind of respond to. And then we did the 5-point plan, which passed. And one of the points of that was to kind of create like a research group to look at the curve and like figure out what was going on. The timeline that was suggested in that 5-point plan was 2 months, right? So it's been 2 months and we haven't even really started the 5-point plan. I don't think that's anybody's fault. Like we've been quite busy with the products and figuring out the governance 2.0 stuff, which is probably more complicated and more kind of an existential thing anyway. So, I mean, I think at this point, since we haven't really formulated a plan on what to do to adapt it, like I have no problem. I support the idea of just stopping it until, you know, we come back around and actually can give some attention to how to upgrade the curve to something new.
Yeah, so my view on this is already like 2 months ago, there were just a handful of pumpers. And it's just like my gut feeling, like maybe that's the main issue. I don't know if DXD holders really want to stop the bonding curve. And 2 months ago, there were a handful of pumpers who wanted to push this like propaganda or like just the strategy to actually hold the bonding curve. And right now it's just one dude. And that's something on our side that we like didn't make sure or even like had a strategy to actually really ask the DXD holders. Because we don't know if like, I don't even know if Chris has any DXD. So it's just like air right now.
Right, like I agree with that. That like it would be much better to have like an actual DXD guild, and just to address that kind of technically and where we are timeline wise with that. You know, the Gusto has pretty much wrapped up the ERC20 guilds, and it's like in our auditing queue and should be audited in January. So like, you know, hopefully we can launch some DXD guild in like February if things go well. Now I know. I mean, Chris seems to be the only one really making noise at this point about it, but I know for sure it's more than just one DXD holder that feels that way. I mean, I actually just did an interview with Tristan from FTX podcast, and one of the questions he asked me on that interview, which hopefully I think should be being published within a couple of weeks. And one of the questions he asked is like, you know, what about the bonding curve? Like the price could have been much higher if it had been stopped. Like, you know, if it could be at 2,500. So it's definitely more than just Chris who won it. So I'm fairly convinced of that. But.
Yeah, and besides, like let's imagine the DXD holders are actually like in favor after a proper vote. We will focus on that for a few months, and we will miss out on actually development of our product. Because we are just a handful of developers.
Right. I mean, one of the reasons, I mean, that it hasn't been like addressed in terms of like designing a new alternative to it is like, yeah, priority, effort. But to do the pause, right, the way this would mechanically work, there's like a hacky way we can do it. I would need to go back and verify that this is indeed like a good way to do it. But like, I remember looking at it over the summer, there's a minimum buy parameter, which DXDAO controls on the curve. And so what you can do is set that minimum buy so high, like to the ETH supply.
Is this what's in the proposal?
What?
Is this what's in the proposal?
Well, so, I mean, this proposal is not particularly well formed, right? Like, I mean, we can't literally immediately halt the bonding curve because there's these technical steps to actually do it. And it doesn't talk about how we're actually going to do it in the proposal. I mean, it would be nice if, yeah. This is one of the problems I have with this discourse so far is it's like pretty crude, right? Like, I mean, like if you have, when you're trying to address something this critical, it's important to like ask questions about how this would work. You know, what are the actual steps involved here? I'm always willing to like help people kind of figure that stuff out.
If you felt that way, then why did you boost the proposal? If you feel like we needed more time to discuss, I'm like putting this in the forefront now.
I mean, I'm just saying that what like the actual like text of this proposal is poorly formed, I still think that halting the curve makes sense and that we can do it without. And to address Geronimo's point about the technical effort to do it, it really shouldn't require us too much technical effort to implement the ability to halt the curve. If we do this multi-call thing, then we really just need to add the bonding curve itself to the multi-call scheme or another custom scheme. Those are the two options. Once we have that, then it's a vote. Yeah.
Because since there's like a proposal live right now, I think we should, like, people voting yes or no on that, I think is, to me, like, I think, we're coming up on the like 5th or 6th time that Brexit has crashed out in some way, to use a corollary. And I think it's really dangerous to like build political momentum off of a vague slogan like Brexit, because everyone can kind of see what they want in it. And I think it's really important that you have more specifics on what's going to happen when that first thing is done, when we're kind of voting on that. So I think with this proposal now, it doesn't really strike me as having enough of a specifics or plan of action to execute after that. So I think it's hard to support this proposal now, but I do think we should continue to research the bonding curve. I think we should devote resources to it, and I'd be definitely eager to join and discuss new solutions to it with anyone who's got ideas.
Yeah, I mean, my feeling, I mean, we can talk about the technical details now and how this would work. Sorry, Journal.
Yeah, like, I totally agree with Chris. Like, whatever reasons John had to boost it, I mean, Chris is very dominant right now in the Telegram chat. At the end of the day, like, we don't know if he has any DXD. It could be just a major troll.
It doesn't. It doesn't matter if even he's talking. We could talk about this. I think he's brought it up. Like, we could talk, just because. I mean, that's an ad hominem attack on like Chris. Like, I mean, the points about the bonding curve. Like, this is a great discussion, I think. And
I didn't boost it because Chris is bringing up in the chat. I boosted it because I think it makes sense. Like, I'm evaluating this on the merits of.
Proposal makes sense.
I think it's poorly worded, but I think the essence of it makes sense.
I think we need to. I think we need, first of all, like, this discussion is not new. Like, I know Chris is very like active there and saying stuff, but since like the reason one of the reasons why I came to Keybase and talked to you guys was one of them was actually the bonding curve. I didn't know nothing about it. I still don't know anything about it, but this is not only Chris. And obviously this proposal, we shouldn't expect people to be super technical and understand everything, even though like they shouldn't even need to be discussing stuff in the chat. They could just do a proposal, just a single proposal. I don't think we should be that critical, and we should let our votes do the rest. Like, I think we should just don't.
Yeah, it's like analogous to Omen, right? Like, just because he didn't like word this in a technically correct way doesn't mean that we shouldn't like vote on what it really represents.
I mean, I think we're voting on the proposal as it's written, right?
No, I would say it's a signal proposal. It's not like we can't. It will not immediately pass anything. Obviously, that proposal is just a signal.
So what is the signal?
That
stop the minting from the bonding.
Yeah. So rep holders wants to stop.
I told you how we can do it. We raise the minimum button. Like, that's our job, right? And I agree with Zed here, right? Like, the job, like, if we, like, I have an awareness of the fact that if I sit here and point to like a 10-page doc from Fairmint about, revenue sharing organizations that is largely irrelevant to what we're doing, right? Like, the bonding curve served its purpose. It raised us money. I think it was great at the time. We came out of nowhere, right? It needed time for us to raise money. The bonding curve was perfect for that. But now I think it's less perfect now, because if you think about it, the price goes up as the square root of the market cap. And that's like a big deterrent for people buying it. We've got that feedback, right? And the other feedback we've gotten is that we are not acting quickly. And we didn't. The plan said we were going to do it in 2 months. We haven't done anything about it. So if we sit here now and say like, oh, well, like, Chris Padovano, like, like wrote this like
it just seems like we're acting like very rashly here. And the bounding curve, I think I like share most of the concerns on it. My only argument, I think there is a huge disconnect between the signal and like what the actual plan is afterwards. And I know that like, so I've talked a lot and John talked a lot. So I don't know if other thoughts from people here on this.
Yeah, like at one point, like
you too, Geronimo.
Like I personally, I don't like. I agree with John. There's no real like negative impact for us to make sure that the bonding curve is not minting any more DXD because we don't need more money. That's clear, and I think everyone is would be fine with it. But I'm personally I'm very focused on our products, and I think strategically, I don't want to deal with the bonding curve right now because we have crazy other priorities, and I think everyone is thinking the same here. So why are we not like
exactly what we should be thinking? What simplifies our lives?
And like in general, making sure that Chris is part of the working group and he's contributing. Not only Chris, but anyone who wants to care about the bonding curve should work on the fucking bonding curve.
But here's the thing. Let's talk about that for a second, right? Like, why do we need a new bonding curve? Do we really even need it? Because
we need a plan.
I
need
agree
a plan
with
revenue and all of these things. You can call it a bonding curve, but whatever replaces the way that DXD is like integral to the system.
Right, but we have 100,000K DXD pre-mint, right? So like we have the capability to fundraise via that pre-mint. We have the ability to upgrade the curve later. We have the ability
I understand the dynamic. There is
it.
no plan. There is no plan for this. There's definitely ways to do everything. And I'm saying we should have some idea of what we're going to do when we're voting on this.
So I mean, if it's helpful, I can make another proposal that spells out exactly how we can do it. Would that convince you to vote for it?
I mean, I'd like to discuss and hear other people's thoughts. I'm just giving you like what on this specific proposal in here. I just think we don't have enough like signal on it, and like there's still 6 days is up there, so there's a lot more debate and discussion. But I don't think there's a clear like signal from this proposal on what comes after.
Well, we don't have the ability. We don't have the ability to get the clear signal, and we won't have it for 3 months, right? Like
then roll with. I mean, then what do we do? We just like, why do we have?
So my argument would be like, we've gotten enough signal to say that like, look, like people don't like this. We can like pause it to show that like we are listening to that and it makes sense. And then once we have the DXD guild, we can run a real DXD vote on it. And if they want to unpause it, then we can unpause it then. And if they want to keep it paused,
I just think we need a plan, an exit plan before going into like a war.
So if this proposal was reworded and only said this is a signal, if we should focus on this, would you vote on that instead? Because it's much clearer.
I agree with Chris. John, why not describe how we could stop the curve in a way to not mint anymore, which is like just a technical description about how we will do it, and that is like that could be a clear plan, right? Which is another signal proposal for like, okay, this is how we are gonna do it, which is way more clear, right, compared to the one right now.
I mean, the other thing is like we've also been getting criticism. Like I've heard the word bureaucrat like 8 times in the last 2 weeks, and like this is exactly what we don't need to be doing, right? We don't need to like reword the proposal. It's clear, right? Like stop the bonding curve, do whatever is technically possible to stop it. We've like already indicated how that's possible. Like if it wasn't possible, yeah.
I mean,
John, are you clear that any rep holder, like every rep holder, knows about this, and it is possible, and especially those who already voted on it?
I mean, if it's not possible, it won't happen. I mean, if it's not possible, it won't happen because it's not possible, right? Like then that's just.
I mean, John, it's not about halting. It's not about halting the bonding curve. You kind of said you put a high price on that. That makes sense. Everyone gets it. I don't think anyone has any idea what comes after that. And there's no consensus on that at all.
Well, why do we need the idea of what comes after?
This is what I've been saying the whole time. I think you need a plan of action before like going into that. I think the dynamics change once you do something and then you start negotiating. The dynamics completely change, right? You need to do this like negotiation before and have not even like the whole way, but just have some plan or idea on it so people know what they're voting. Again, I'm going to give the Britain example. Like, people voted on Brexit, and like people like, yeah, separate the EU from Great Britain. It like makes sense. But like, what are the details of that? What are the plan of action for that?
Obviously
and like, if you knew how that ended up playing out, and you compared it to the status quo, then maybe you'd have some, some different idea.
There's some very negative impacts of like the UK leaving the EU, right? Okay, so what negative impacts are you worried about with halting the bonding curve? Because I can't think of any at this
Sky, do you want to speak?
Yeah. When I think of halting the bonding curve, or like getting rid of the bonding curve, like the language kind of matters, because what if we just got rid of the bonding curve, like burn it, right? Like send it to 000 address, and like there is no more bonding curve. Would that work, or is that a problem because there's ETH in it and revenue is going to flow to it? So like, how, like, to just get rid of the bonding curve? Like, if the Signal proposals is like, should DXgov get rid of the bonding curve? Like, that means
that's not the proposal, though, right? It's halt the bonding curve, not get rid of it.
Halt is what, though? Like, I think of it as get rid of the bonding curve.
Yeah, and just because you don't like people to
is basically getting rid.
No, it's not. Come on, guys. No one is saying remove the bonding curve. I know because I'm in the communities listening to what they're saying. No one is saying that. People want to
the only thing that matters is what's proposals on chain. And I'm reading the proposal that says immediately halt the bonding curve without a clear plan of action on how to halt the bonding curve or what to happen after.
Okay.
That's the reason I'm voting against it. I don't think with those, if we address those, I'd be happy to consider. This is why when you like write bills, you have committees that like narrow things down so that you can like have inputs from different one, and you can actually like vote on something that has, a clear idea of what's actually going to be voted on. I don't understand
why do we need a plan though, right? Like, I mean, isn't the important thing to have flexibility? And I think we have flexibility even if we pause the buzz.
Like, no, I think DXDAO has benefited tremendously from the lack of flexibility, right? We're like this, this hardened thing. We're not like going to be influenced by the daily whims.
I mean, why don't we just
agree.
Turn out and then like already agreed that we should form like a guild to determine what's happening with the guild right afterwards. With the bonding curve right afterwards, long term. I think short term, I kind of like agree to what John said. Yeah, it's probably like little damage if we would hold it or not. Let's let the vote happen and form a guild afterwards.
Yeah, Chris, this happens. We have a five terms plan. The only thing, the reason why we didn't touch the 5-point plan is because we have been busy, right? That's the only reason. Like, we wanted to deal with the bonding curve, but
yeah, I'm happy. Like, I know like a few friends who are like really into bonding curves. I'm happy to ask them if they want to take a step and produce research.
Yeah, I would vote and join a bonding curve working group like today. I think it's super important. I thought that we'd be developing and launch a bonding curve working group in the last month or so. We haven't gotten around to it, but that to me is the next step.
Yeah, so my last point is. Oh, so sorry, Pat. Well, 1 second. Like,
go ahead.
The fact that we are confused about what the proposal is and what the results are is already a clear signal that it is not a good, well-defined proposal where every rep holder knows what they're voting on.
I agree with that, but also one point right now to think about is that it's effectively halted because the market price is so much lower. No one's actually buying from the bonding curve. So I feel like this is just a beautiful opening to start a working group. People actually want to work on that, but then the people who want to focus on product can focus on product, and then maybe get some sort of proposal down the line with maybe some help from Christopher's mathematician contacts.
And we should formally invite Chris Padovano to the working group.
Definitely.
So what do we what's the next step here? So someone needs to make a proposal that's more clear that we want to discuss like the whole bonding curve in general, or do we, like, in my mind, that this proposal obviously wasn't that technical. It didn't say how to do it. It was more of signal proposal, and I don't know what we expecting from every rep holder. If they want to do a proposal, we shouldn't be super picky. Maybe I understand that like different rep holders can see it in different ways, but like if you see it in your way, then yeah, vote on it. I don't think we should like vote down something just because it's not how I want it to be. If you know what it means, just vote on it.
Yeah, I think that's for every rep holder to decide. And I think if this is a proposal that like you feel strongly about, I think everyone should vote on this. And then there would be clear signal. There would be some signal, and then we debate what that signal is. So I think this proposal will be in the queue for another like 6 days. So presumably there'll be some voting on it here and there. I would be willing to work with someone or myself to submit another working group proposal or like a scope of work that kind of does that, be working on that in the meantime as a follow-up to this. But the proposal is still already boosted and will be able to be voted on for the next 6 days.
Yeah, like I see only 2 people are really technically capable to do that, and that's John and Augusto. And John, would you be willing?
No, I don't want to spend time on this, and I just voted for the proposal. We have much more important things to do, like work on the products, work on governance 2.0. Frankly, we have the flexibility to fundraise in the future via the DXD and the Treasury, via the ability to upgrade the curve. Like, I don't think this needs to be a priority, and I don't think we need a plan because we have the flexibility that we needed in the future.
I feel like voting for it makes a priority.
Like I said, it won't take much time to halt the curve. We can add the integration in the multi-call scheme.
And so you don't think we should create like a bonding curve working group to explore this?
I mean, I think if at some point we need to address what the bonding curve is. There's 2,500 Ether in there. It is how we distribute it. Like at some point we needed to address that. I think the priority and the focus now should be on governance 2.0 and on getting revenue. Omen needs to generate revenue. Mason needs to generate revenue.
The revenue going to go?
Swapper needs to into the bonding curve. Into the bonding curve, like it already is with Swapper, this proposed Swapper. You can still put revenue into the bonding curve, and you can still sell.
I just don't know. Like I didn't know that. That's why.
Well, then ask. That's why I'm here. Anybody can ask. I know. I can explain it how this works. We can pause the bonding curve by raising the minimum buy. It just makes it impossible to buy from the curve, which makes it impossible for the curve to mint. You can still sell into it, and you can still send revenue to it.
John, as far as I know, the plan with the multi-call was to not connect it to something which
funding.
Which,
yeah.
Right, but
well, so that we don't need to do the multi-call. So we're still like, this is like a little bit too technical for this, but like we have a choice between individual schemes or combining them into the multi-call. I don't think we should be doing funding proposals through the multi-call. So I don't know if you would count this as a funding proposal, right? It modifies the curve. So it has impact, but it's not going to drain funds from the Treasury or the curve.
I can't imagine that this is going to take pressure or ideas or keep our focus off of the bonding curve. I imagine that it would kind of make it focus once again, because we have to answer all these questions.
If we stop the curve and it's just like, you can't buy from this, I think that makes it a non-issue.
I mean, if John wants to focus on that, that's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, if it doesn't pass and somebody wants to actually go do the working group and figure out the plan, I mean, then that's a priority. I'll work on it. I mean, I'll do whatever the DAO thinks is a priority. But personally, I don't see it as a priority.
Well, I mean, the priority will be we'll have to develop something to actually stop the curve at some point, like right after this. And that's what you're saying. You know how to do it, and like we don't know how to like the exactly what that will be, and we'll wait for
It's a function called on the curve to set a single parameter, which is the minimum buy. So the only thing we're lacking to be able to do this is the actual scheme which connects the DAO's governance to the curve itself, which we should have. The only reason we haven't done it is because it's like you said, there's other priorities. So we just haven't.
How long will that scheme take? That is like a 16-day one to add or a 3-week one to add?
Any new plugin takes like 14 days after being boosted, 2 days to boost, so 16 days total, about 3 weeks. And Nico has actually done some of these before, so you could probably speak to how long it takes to develop it.
Yeah, so it's hard to respond immediately to it, but from what I get so far, it would be one parameter we probably need to change on the bonding curve smart contract. So it would probably be a pretty easy plugin, which could be ready within Alchemy within a week. We don't need an audit for that because it's like a standard module that we are using, plus the governance time to actually activate it and install it on the DAO.
Kaden's asking if it's possible to lower. So we could lower the price. The problem there, though, I think would be that if the market price actually goes above the bonding curve bid price and you wanted to unpause it, that would have these weird effects, right? Where the curve would just mint up to the bottom of the market price and the market price would come down and meet it somewhere in the middle. So I think by pausing it, we are like sort of committing to not just turning it on without some kind of rethinking of the whole thing.
Like another small thing is to make sure that people are not aping into the DX Trust after we changed it. I think we need to change the DX Trust in a way that people are not buying into the curve.
They won't be able to after we raise the minimum buy. I mean, we do have to change the interface to make sure that people aren't confused.
Right. I mean, there's always a chance people are buying into that. Like, people also sold. But this sounds like a plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to the proposal. I mean, I just voted for it, but like if it doesn't pass, then I don't know where we are. I guess we're still back on the working group plan. But if it does pass, then I think we just add that plugin and pause it.
Sky, it looks like you want to say something, or you've got maybe words of wisdom.
No, just that it's the power of a live proposal that starts discussion, which is good, I think. Like if this was a forum post, we wouldn't be talking about actually with immediacy right now.
You got to vote, right? When there's like a vote on the line, right?
You got to vote.
Yeah, and it's governance in action, right? That's the whole point. That's the whole point of the boosting and stuff. It's to raise things that are most important, like to the attention of the people who need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the boosting I find interesting because like, why do you boost? Because in this case, I guess it's like you boosted because you thought it was important for rep holders to vote on this, or did you boost it because you thought rep holders were going to pass this? So you want to boost it so that you can like earn some of that.
So I mean, in theory, right? Like the game theory or whatever is that like people should be boosting when they think it's going to pass, and so they make it more. They make a little money off of getting the gen staked on the opposite side, right? So like I have 2,000 gen in this proposal boosted, which is like what $300 worth of gen right now. That, but like I wasn't confident that this would pass. Like I mean, I'm still not confident. Like I have no idea if it's going to pass or not. But I felt like it's the thing that makes sense, and I wanted to get this off of our plate so we can focus on more important things. I wanted to like make sure DXD holders know that we are actually listening to them, and I wanted to dispel any idea that we're bureaucrats, because I don't think of myself as a bureaucrat. I want to get down and like do some work, because that's what I'm.
Well, you got to do work heads down rather than respond to the chirping. I think we need to have confidence in some of our strategies and things going forward.
Also, like Sky, like one simple way actually how to not allow this, like this active guerrilla style proposal to happen is just like staking against it, and this is something we didn't do. Is it boosted already? Like proper boosted?
Yeah.
Yeah, I upstaked and I actually even clicked on the boosted myself because the bot wasn't doing it.
So we can't push it down again, like unboosting it.
No, you have to vote on it.
It's forcing a vote basically.
Yeah, that's why I don't understand the up and down boosting time period. I guess
it gives people a chance to downstake it, right? Like, because I mean, if it immediately boosted, you can make the proposal boost it right away, and then it's already into the boosted state.
So, yeah. Should we make an effort to spread this around to as many rep holders in the community as possible? Like
yeah, we should
spread awareness of it so that we get try to get a really big turnout, right?
Yeah. I mean, if you guys are not happy with the wording